Hey guys, thought I'd do another book review. The book is Stephen King's It. Now, I started reading this I started reading it in like June, because I went to a summer camp for a month. I was working there as a cook. Well, kind of like a part cook, part counselor type thing. And I stopped at page 312. I still have it marked. And I put it down because it got boring for me, and I started to read The Stand because I bought that when I was at camp at the store, and I've read that in about 3 weeks. Thought it was gay and retarded, and I really didn't go back to this. I read a James Bond book, and then I read The Shining again, and now I'm currently reading 11/22/63. And I thought I'd go back to this about 3 weeks ago, and I would kind of flip-flop. And the part that I was stopping at was when they start, like every time you read about an adult, it goes back in time to their first encounter with it, and that's the part that I got stuck at because it got really boring. But I finished the book. This book is 1,060, or no, sorry, 1,080, 1,090 pages. It took Stephen King 4 years to write this book. I've seen the miniseries multiple times. I think the miniseries is a pretty decent adaptation of the book, even though there's a lot of stuff that they couldn't put in it. I found this book pretty frightening. It was pretty scary at some moments, and there's a lot of other gore and stuff that they couldn't put in the movie, and there's a lot of a lot of this stuff happens in the miniseries, but in the book it describes it in more graphic detail, like George Denborough's death. Like in the movie, he just gets pulled into a drain, but in this movie, in the book, he gets like ripped in half. And there's a lot more encounters with it in the book than there is in the movie, considering it's a 1,100-page novel. He has more room to talk. But out of all the Stephen King books I've read, this is probably my second favorite. My first being Misery. 11/22/63, again, I'm starting to get to that phase where it's starting to get kind of slow. I'm at the part where he goes back in time again, and he's waiting for the JFK assassination to happen. And this was pretty good. You have to be very faithful to reading this. It's going to suck up a lot of time. And it doesn't look that thick, but the words are small. Like, the wording is very small. I would probably recommend reading this as a hardback. I think it would go a lot faster as a hardback. But my copy came out when the miniseries came out, as you can see, and it's got an advertisement for the miniseries on the back. But decent book. Definitely the longest. This is the longest I've ever spent reading a book. So The Stand only took me 3 weeks. I've been reading it since June, with a lot of breaks in between. So, and it's now almost December. Well, we got a couple days until December. About three or four. And, yeah, pretty decent Stephen King book. I guarantee if you read the book and you highly enjoyed it, you're not really going to like the miniseries anymore. Because the miniseries leaves out a lot of stuff. But the miniseries is still good. I would not recommend reading it if you get easily distracted. Like, it's, you can't be the type of reader where you start to read a book and maybe you buy another book, or you find something really interesting to read and you start reading that, and then you put your other book down intending to get back to it, but you never do. That's kind of what I did with it. And I don't want to do that. I'm trying to stick to one book at a time, even though I'm dying to read. Like, I want to finish Bag of Bones because I put that down because of 11/22/63, and I wanted to read Carrie. And I'm looking at my bookshelf. There's this book, 1984 by George Orwell, I want to read. But decent Stephen King book, my second favorite. Took a lot of time and patience, but stick with it. It gets very, very good at the towards the end of the book. The the June of 1958 parts are kind of boring at some points, but the book gets very interesting and very disturbing at some moments. But Stephen King's It, highly enjoyable book. Definitely the better books that I've read from him, but really good book, and the miniseries is a decent adaptation. But rate, subscribe, and leave comments, and I'll post more reviews later.